Welcome to Rhodes, Greece. Old Town is a top destination place to visit when in Rhodes. In case you're asking where Rhodes is, it's the largest Greek Dodecanese island concealed in the Aegean Sea, southeast of mainland Greece. Old Town Rhodes is a fascinating medieval town which provides prehistoric vibes for anyone visiting. One is teleported into the medieval times and you will be able to grab a slice of history. After constructive conversation with our Greek hosts, we had the option of either using a bus, taxi, or a stroll along the seafront to get to the old town. Personally, it was a no-brainer. Walking was the most favorable choice, but only to be disappointed by folks, as you later come to find out. It was a bright, lovely, warm spring day with temperatures of about 15 degrees, not because I was expecting anything different from Rhodes. At least the island was not being battered by winds of up to 30 miles per hour. There was no excuse for staying indoors. Watching the gentle sea waters caress the coastal rocks was calming. The optics and ambience spoke for themselves. For anyone who prefers less crowded beaches, this was the perfect time to visit. This was at the beginning of spring and the end of March. I spotted a red dive float only to realize someone was swimming in the nearby waters. Off camera, I found myself inspecting his face for an allergic reaction on his lips as he had come in contact with suspected venom from stingray fish. He was fine in himself, and after a quick inspection of his lips, he quickly disappeared back in the water as he came. On our way, we stopped to admire the Hottentot fig or highway ice plant, which is a ground creeping plant with succulent leaves. The ice plant is native to South Africa, grows year round and produces yellow flowers from April to October. Having realized the distance between me and my comrades had increased, and it suddenly struck me that they were not in for the long haul. Their plans had changed, and I soon realized it was now up to the two of us to represent the group. The coastline is full of tourists during the summer months, whereas this time of the year many places are closed and the seaside is deserted. From a personal perspective, I would prefer having a meeting with nature in the absence of human competition. When the town was in sight, my one and only remaining companion saw no point in continuing. He jumped ship and I was left to continue by myself. It was fascinating to see what these rocks had turned out after years of weathering from water, winds, the sun, and I guess living microorganisms. These had caused amazing and sightly landscapes which capture the eye. Determined not to give up, I was comforted by the gentle sunshine, cool breeze from the open seas, and the occasional guy jogging. I pushed on. Walking through New Town before getting to the Old Town had this silence which was palpable. This did not stop me from admiring the rich Greek architecture. Passing by Academia Primary School building in Rhodes led me in the right direction to one of the 11 gates to the Old Town. My aim was to access the Old Town through Amboise Gate, which is a well-fortified gate nearest the Grand Master Palace. I came across a map that clearly gives you a perspective of your bearings, which is priceless to anyone foreign. Kiosks were displayed to the right of the path that led to Amboise Gate. Unfortunately, some of them were still closed. I'm not certain if it's because I was an early bird for the day or it's not yet the season for tourists. The long-awaited Old Town invites you to its well-fortified walls. It is the largest active medieval town in Europe with over 6,000 inhabitants. Going through Amboise Gate, I went on to satisfy my curiosity. Getting to know some history behind this UNESCO World Heritage Site will not hurt. The medieval town's extensive fortified walls were constructed in the 14th and 15th centuries by the Knights of St. John. They went on to occupy the Old Town for 2 centuries. Prior to the above walls, the Old Town had a Byzantine fortification which was demolished, leaving a portion at the old fort known at the time of knights as a Colosseum. The medieval town currently occupies an area of 104 acres. The town has a number of different architectural styles due to its history. It was mostly developed under the Knights of St. John, which accounts for its predominantly Gothic architecture. I was later joined by my colleagues to explore the Old Town. A large number of shops are closed during the early part of spring. One cannot miss the imposing towers over one of the Grand Master Palace walls. This must have been vital in securing its safety. Walking along the streets, I reflected on how grand this place must have been in the 14th century. The Ottomans conquered Rhodes in 1522 from the Knights of St. John. They kept a tight grip on the island for 4 centuries. Rhodes is one of the few European walled towns that still shows the transition between classical medieval fortification and a modern town. I decided to do what tourists do best, so I joined a shopping bonanza. A large number of visitors arrive by cruise ships, however, one can fly into Rhodes. The souvenir shop was well stocked with various memorabilia, as we normally pick up fridge magnets, which is a reminder of places we have visited. On this occasion, we decided to leave it till later, as we came to a rude awakening that these items were priced differently depending on where you were shopping. Back on the streets, the human traffic had not picked up, so we enjoyed the spacious streets with a handful of locals, but most of the time we had it to ourselves. The streets were pedestrianized with a few small cars and small motorbikes, which I believe are for the locals. The Rolloy medieval clock tower is the highest point in the old town. It is a Byzantine structure which dates back to the 7th century. At the top, one can enjoy beautiful views of Rhodes, going up the cobbled path to steal a glance of the Mosque of Suleiman. The Mosque of Suleiman to my extreme right was built after the Ottoman conquest of Rhodes in 1522 and reconstructed in 1808. It was named by the Sultan Suleiman to remember his conquest of Rhodes. The old town has a number of streets with small lanes which branch off to create a complex maze. If not careful, one can easily get lost, which is a good way of knowing the town. Among the few shops that were open, I was fascinated by this leather product shop. It had genuine leather products and it had that lovely natural smell of leather. I was not keen on any big spending as our stay was in its early days. Walking towards another exit, we came across a few other shops, some of which were restaurants where one can enjoy a cup of coffee. The small medieval church of St. Athanasius caught our attention. It is on the left on your way out of the old town through the gate of Athanasius. The south wall of the church is flush with the inner face of the city wall. The presence of the arms of Grand Master Fabrizio del Carretto in this part of the fortification shows that the church must be dated to the early 16th century, something also apparent in the architectural style of the structure. Once we left the church, we took a detour to explore the dry moat between the old town walls. These photographic prehistoric walls have stood the test of time. The old town has been demolished, annexed, ravaged by earthquakes, and rebuilt a few times. We headed to the gate of St. Athanasius, which dates back to the 13th century. is on the southwestern flank of the fortification wall, and it was protected by the bastion of the Town of England. We traced our way back to the street of Socrates, which is the main street for the old town and a big magnet for shoppers. Along this street you'll find souvenir shops, shops selling local delicacies, and is supposed to be a car-free street. Strolling down the main street, we enjoyed the mid-morning sunshine on our way to the largest square in town, Hippocrates Square. It has a large fountain and displays an outdoor lifestyle, people sitting out in various outdoor spaces, restaurants and cafes. Proceeding to the Jewish Square, also called the Seahorse Square, which is within the Jewish quarters in the old town. The square is intertwined with many trees, which affords it with a nice shade. It's also blessed with many restaurants and cafes. On our way to the Virgin Mary Gate by the seafront, we came to the ruins of a Gothic church built in the 14th century. Parts of the walls still in existence, and one can see the cone-shaped arches of the church. The Virgin Mary Gate is a modern gate that was built by the Italians. The Italians built the gate to allow cars inside the old town. The Italians took over the island from the Ottoman, who occupied the island until after World War II, when the island became part of Greece. The Palace of the Grand Master is a massive stone-made palace which was built during the Byzantine era. This is before the Knights of St. John. In addition to being a palace, it was also an administrative center and a fortress. Today, it is a museum. One can only marvel at the photographic architecture. The Streets of the Knights is one of the famous streets in Rhodes. It is a medieval 600-meter long cobbled street built in the 14th century. The prehistoric town of Rhodes has been the set of a number of movies, including Guns of Navarone, which is a 1961 adventure war film directed by J. Lee Thompson. Others include O Jerusalem 2006, El Greco 2007. Surprisingly, the old town has a buzzing nightlife. As you have noted, people are out shopping, restaurants and bars are open. It is a fascinating sight. This is a part of the medieval town I did not expect. I was reliably informed that even during the winter months, bars, cafes, and restaurants are open. I guess life has to continue for the locals. Our journey to and around the medieval town of Rhodes has been an eye-opener, which I must admit has been fascinating. If you have made it this far, thanks for exploring the prehistoric town through my lens, and I hope to see you on the next one. Till next time.